Hey, it's Scott Weiss with Lessons on Leaving, your complete guide to funerals. I'm here today to give you a tip that literally could save you thousands of dollars. Now, this situation may not happen to you, but you never know, because we never know where we're going to be when we pass away. Let's say you're on vacation. Let's use a couple of states, for example. You live in Florida. You're on vacation in California. God forbid something happens to your loved one, the person you're responsible for, your legal next of kin. Let's say the wife and the husband are on vacation in California. The husband passes away, a heart attack. Okay, now you've got a massive situation to deal with, something you're unfamiliar with, you've probably never thought about, you're not prepared. Please try to remember this tip. Do not contact the local funeral home directly in California where your loved one has passed away. Be sure and call back to your hometown. Have a funeral home in mind that you want to deal with. And call that funeral home back in your hometown. They will contact a local funeral home where your loved one has passed away. The reason I'm telling you this is you will literally save thousands of dollars by dealing with one funeral home. That's the key. Always deal with the funeral home where your loved one is going to be buried or is going to be permanently disposed of. In other words, if you just randomly call the local funeral home in California, you're going to pay their fees and you're going to pay the fees of the funeral home back in Florida. But if you call your funeral home in Florida, they will call the funeral home and the actual charges will be far less, because there's an agreement between funeral homes and the fees are going to be much less than if they bill you directly. Now, I'm not saying every funeral home does that, but it is very common in the industry. So always call the funeral home in your hometown if something happens when you're out of town, out of state, even out of the country. And God forbid that happens. There's a lot of red tape to go through to get a person flown back to the United States. You got to go through an embassy. That's a subject maybe for a future video. We'll give you a lot more tips in the future on how to save money. We're going to talk about terms, for example, what you're going to have here if your person, that your loved one dies out of state. You have the transfer of remains to the funeral home. There's going to possibly be embalming. There's going to be the maybe dressing and casketing of that person. You might purchase a casket. You don't have to. There are containers that a person can be shipped in, air transported back to your hometown, and you can choose a casket back in your hometown. A lot of issues are going to come up, a lot of things to think about, and when you're in a grief-filled situation, you're going to be confused. Please get to thinking about this stuff ahead of time. Make some plans ahead of time. So I hope this tip helps you out. If it ever does one day, please let me know. Send me an email and let me know that you knew to call your hometown funeral instead of calling a local funeral if your loved one passes away when you're out of town. So go to my website, lessonsonleaving.com. Subscribe. The more subscribers I get, the more people we can reach, get as much information out there as possible about this often confusing subject. Like me on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter. There's Google+. All the social media is out there. But more important than anything else, go to lessonsonleaving.com and subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll be giving you more tips, more hints, more advice. If you have any questions whatsoever, ask me, and I do promise to answer that question within 24 hours. And I appreciate those who have asking questions. I appreciate the dialogue we're having through emails, and we'll see you next time.